Touching moment, single dad discovers deaf girl's cry for help. What happened next is incredible. Mike wiped his grease-stained hands on an old rag, the heat of the garage pressing down on him like an unwelcome weight. Every day was a grind, but it wasn't just the endless repairs on battered trucks that consumed him, it was his daughter, Lily. At 8 years old, she was a reflection of his heart, a heart that had shattered with the sudden loss of his wife. Long hours in the garage were punctuated with thoughts of whether he could provide the life she deserved. As the sun set over their small Texas town, a familiar gloom settled over him, tangled with the desperate need to shield her from the harshness of the world. Today had seemed typical until a trip to the local park abruptly shifted everything. The laughter of children echoed, but beneath that joy was a chilling tempest. He spotted her, his little girl, isolated under the large oak tree, her hands moving as she attempted to make sense of the world. Moments later, his heart dropped as a group of kids closed in, mocking her, tossing words like stones. Their laughter pierced through his resolve, igniting a fire in his gut. He watched helplessly as Lily shrank back, tears brimming in her eyes. The desire to protect her was engulfed by a gnawing doubt. Could he truly be the father she needed? Before he could process the pain, he felt the tight grip of anguish. This dilemma propelled him into a new mission: the need to educate others about Lily's deafness. Would people ever understand? Their ignorance haunted him. Would he have the strength to face the community's skepticism? And while he wrestled with the shadows of self-doubt and anger, he stumbled upon sign language storytelling quite by accident. It felt like a lifeline, not only for Lily but for him too, a way to reclaim their narrative. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Organizing workshops, he felt a spark of hope light within him, but dread coiled tightly around his heart. What if things didn't change? The night he invited the kids from the neighborhood to participate, he had unlaced the dread from his mind, deciding to cast away fear and embrace this unexpected passion. Watching Lily flourish during their sessions, he felt courage seep into their lives. But soon, whispers of her past, the bullies, loomed over their happiness like dark clouds, leaving him with the ache of uncertainty. The tension escalated one afternoon after school. As the children confronted Lily, their sneers felt like a suffocating blanket, threatening to strangle her newfound confidence. Anger bubbled inside Mike, but what if confronting them meant challenging not only his daughter's bullies but his own fears as well? Catching a glimpse of the vulnerable strength in Lily's eyes, he found himself at a crossroads. Would she shrink again? Or would she rise? Mike stood, torn between fear and pride, grappling with what it meant to truly let go. The moment hung, thick with possibility. Would Lily confront her past? Could courage redefine their future? With bated breath, he waited, the boundaries of their journey pushed to the breaking point, uncertain of what lay ahead. Mike's heart raced as he observed the turmoil unfolding before him. He stood frozen, tension writhing in his chest, a battlefield of emotions. Were he and Lily about to emerge victorious, or would this dark moment devour the progress they'd fought hard to achieve? Fixed in place, he struggled with the overwhelming urge to leap into the fray while simultaneously wrestling with the instinct to shield Lily from this pain. And then, at that precipice of fear, vulnerability fused with determination. As he looked into Lily's eyes, he saw her resolve beginning to bloom, a flicker illuminated beneath the heaviness of childhood ridicule. It was a quiet spark, yet it held a fierce brilliance. Could it be that she was ready to claim her story? Could she speak the truths to the kids who had once silenced her? "Lily, you can do this," Mike whispered, his voice barely escaping his lips. The conviction behind those words conjured a rush of inner strength as he took a step closer, letting her know he was there without encroaching on her autonomy. From his position, Mike bore witness to the shift. Lily lifted her chin, nostrils flaring slightly as she gathered her breath. Her hands began to animate, fingers weaving through the air with an urgency that spoke volumes, forming a vibrant tapestry of language, not just for her but for everyone present. It was in that act of defiance that she began to reclaim her identity, and as her words danced in front of her, the crowd grew quiet. For a brief moment, it felt as though time stood still. The laughter faded, replaced by a hushed murmuring as the kids' expressions shifted from ridicule to confusion. Mike felt a swell of pride mixed with trepidation. This was new territory for both of them, vulnerability juxtaposed with bravery. "Why didn't you tell us you're deaf?" one of the boys asked, genuinely curious, the scorn vanishing from his tone like smoke. The door had opened, and Mike felt a shiver of hope course through him. Had they finally cracked the facade of disdain thick with ignorance? "I wanted to tell you," Lily signed, the fierce determination evident in her movements. "But you never let me." "I can't hear, but I can understand. I can talk too." With each sign, Mike witnessed a metamorphosis not just in Lily but in the hearts of those children. The bullying that had haunted her started to lose its grip. For the first time, she was using her voice, replete with meaning, bridging the gap built upon misconceptions and fear. But just when it appeared they might surmount this hurdle, a familiar face emerged from the crowd, the ringleader of the past bullies. The breath left Mike's lungs, replaced by a renewed dread. In an instant, he faced a choice. Should he shield Lily from another betrayal or allow her to stand strong as she confronted yet another piece of her past? In that split second, he wasn't just witnessing his daughter's evolution, he was also at a crossroads. What if he backed her in this battle? Would he finally shatter the fear that had clouded his own ability to move forward since losing his wife? "Lily," he whispered again, "it's your turn now. Show them who you really are." The deafening silence was palpable, and every eye shifted towards Lily, waiting to see how she would respond. Her fingers trembled but held fast, eyes locked on the boy as she prepared to answer the unspoken challenge. In that moment, Mike realized that life wasn't about shielding Lily from hurt but teaching her how to confront it. This was their shared journey, the legacy of resilience they would create together. But then, as the ringleader grinned, an unsettling feeling of uncertainty settled over him. Tomorrow would bring different faces and different challenges. And he couldn't help but wonder, had they truly just begun to confront the past, or had they only awakened a deeper conflict yet to surface? With a deep breath, Mike steeled himself for whatever lay ahead. Would they be ready for the next battle? Would this moment of courage cascade into a wave of change for not just Lily but for everyone around her? Lily's hands moved with a fierce elegance, but doubt loomed heavily over her as uncertainty draped itself over her shoulders. With the ringleader's smirk acting as a challenge, her resolve wavered momentarily. Mike's heart ached as he wrestled with the conflicting instincts that had defined him since Claire's departure. He had always wanted to protect, but he now recognized that true strength came from encouragement and trust. "Don't look away," he urged silently through a heart full of hope. Their eyes met once more, and in Lily's gaze, he saw not just fear, he glimpsed an ember of determination wanting desperately to ignite. "Why are you acting like this?" she signed, a question directed not just at the boy but aimed at the invisible chains shackling her sense of self. Mike held his breath, feeling that her question might cut deeper than any insult. "Because you're not normal, that's why." The ringleader shot back, laughter laced with malice. It reverberated through the crowd, and Mike could feel hostility washing over Lily like a cold fog. Yet, the moment of truth rested not in the ringleader's words but in how Lily would harness the energy surrounding her. "I'm not like you, but I'm still me." Her fingers punctuated her statement, drawing the gaze of a few sympathetic onlookers. Could they sense the desperation and courage wrapped in her movements? Mike felt a flicker of pride as he recognized that even against the tide of former ridicule, she was crafting her narrative one that could inspire others, not merely in her schoolyard but perhaps beyond. Still, the sliver of fear inside him whispered harsh truths. He had spent years wallowing in his grief, shying away from the world. How could he give her the strength to face the very traumas he had struggled to escape? In that moment, he made a choice, the kind that could change everything. Drawing closer to Lily, he placed his hand gently on her shoulder, a silent note of solidarity. She glanced at him, and he nodded, offering a faint, reassuring smile, as if to say, "You've got this." Just speak your truth, he thought fiercely. Lily's expression shifted as she absorbed his encouragement. She turned back to the boy, eyes blazing with newfound conviction. I'm more than your bullying. I'm not defined by what I can't hear. I can communicate, and I want to connect. As she articulated her thoughts, the murmurs turned from pity to reflection, a ripple moving through the crowd. Mike's heart began to race anew, noticing the changes in body language. Children who were once indifferent now leaned in, curiosity etched across their faces. But the threat loomed still. His mind veered dangerously towards the prospect of resistance. The ringleader wouldn't back down easily. Would Lily's emerging strength hold firm against his taunts? For Mike, the question shifted from protection to partnership. How could he best serve as her ally? How could he encourage her to reclaim her space in a landscape fraught with judgment? Just as the atmosphere began to crackle with possibilities, the ringleader stepped forward again, casting shadows of doubt over their fragile moment. You think you can just talk your way out of being different? He sneered, his words laced with bitter ridicule. Mike's instincts clenched tight. Tomorrow would not only lay bare the consequences of Lily's bravery, but it would also challenge Mike to confront his deepest fears. He was not simply her guide, he was digging into the well of his own unresolved pain, learning that resilience blossomed from the shared pressure of vulnerability. What awaited them in the days to come was an unpredictable arena of challenges and personal reconciliations. But as he looked towards Lily and the power surging through her, Mike realized they held the power to turn confrontation into connection. Would they emerge stronger together, or would the ringleader drag them back into the shadows? That uncertainty hung thick in the air as they prepared for the next confrontation, one that would test not only Lily's growth but Mike's own healing journey as well. The sun cast its morning light through the grimy cafeteria windows, illuminating the faces of the students who had gathered, anxious for the day ahead. A sense of electricity filled the air, a mingling of anticipation and apprehension. Mike watched as Lily entered the room, her posture slightly bent but her expression resolute. This was the day they both needed. It demanded everything from them. Lily's fingers danced in the air as she gestured a greeting to a group of classmates who had previously ignored both her and Mike. They responded with shy smiles, a glimmer of curiosity flickering in their eyes. A small part of Mike felt uplifted by their acknowledgement. It seemed that Lily's outburst from the day before had cracked open a door to acceptance, however fragile that door might be. But lurking at the periphery was the ringleader. He had grown more emboldened after their last encounter, rallying his friends around him like a pack of wolves sensing a vulnerability. Mike's stomach twisted as he spotted him, shoving his way toward an emptier table, a taunt already forming on his lips. Lily locked eyes with Mike, her brow furrowing in concern. In that moment, he felt their connection deepen. They were not just two individuals caught in the crosshairs of a bully but allies, each bearing the weight of their own battles. He could see sparks of resolution igniting behind her normally passive demeanor. You got this, he mouthed, forcing a confident smile. As lunch progressed, Lily took an uncertain breath and approached a cluster of students. Mike followed closely, ready to intervene but also eager to see her lay down the foundation of her own agency. She signed a hello, shy at first, but gradually gaining clarity and strength in her movements. The onlookers' faces shifted, mirroring their surprise and interest. The ringleader, however, was not to be ignored. He leered from his table, gathering the attention of his followers, and shouted, "What are you doing here? This is a normal table for normal people." His words struck like a hammer against an anvil, trying to reshape the growing support around Lily. Mike's pulse quickened. Would Lily falter? Could she withstand this fresh assault on her emerging self-identity? But he also knew she had more depth than anyone in that room could fully appreciate. Is this a place for courage? She responded loudly enough for the surrounding group to hear, her hands flashing rhythmically in a flurry of signs. It was a good question, one that echoed around the room laden with challenge. The first round of hesitance from her classmates was palpable, but soon, one brave soul, a girl with blonde curls who had initially snickered at the ringleader's remark, broke in. Yeah. It should be, right? Mike's heart swelled, but their transformation from intimidation to camaraderie was fragile at best. He felt the ringleader's simmering rage and fear, a tidal wave ready to break its banks. Would it take just one more push to trigger chaos? Lily met the ringleader's stare, an unwavering challenge reflected in her posture. It was a moment of transformation not just for her but for Mike too. He was resonating with her resolve, allowing it to inspire his own healing. But before they could harness the momentum, the ringleader surged forward, a storm of fury. "Oh, you think your words matter? You'll just be the freak forever." With that venomous strike looming heavy in the air, Mike felt a familiar constriction around his heart. This was at the moment they had been preparing for. Would they fold under the pressure, or would they rise together, defying the narrative that had shackled them each for so long? Lily's fingers danced as she signed furiously, her determination igniting Mike's own fears about taking a stand. He inhaled deeply, realizing he would need to truly speak for both of them. Taking a step toward the chaos, he could feel the boundaries of his own personal struggle stretching, poised on the edge of something transformative. What truth would he reveal, and what impact would it have on their shared journey? Shifting to face both the ringleader and the crowd, he steeled himself for the confrontation, confronting the pain within as much as the venom without. The moment of reckoning had arrived. Would it bring them closer to liberation, or plunge them deeper into despair? His throat felt dry, but the urgency of the moment propelled him forward. Mike faced the ringleader with a newfound clarity, a flicker of defiance igniting inside him. He had spent too long in the shadows, the weight of his insecurities stifling his voice. So why not now? Why not speak up for himself and for Lily too? "Listen," he began, his voice steady despite the pounding in his chest. All eyes shifted toward him, years of fear and doubt crumbling away with the mere intention of his words. "What you just said? That's not who we are. I'm not ashamed of who I am, or who Lily is either. You may think this is funny, but you're only exposing your own weakness." The air grew thick with tension. The ringleader's smirk faltered, his confidence threatened by Mike's boldness. Lily's signs fluttered in the air, translating her thoughts. She echoed Mike's assertion, her hands carving out a truth neither of them had dared to declare before, one that underscored their worthiness. Her voice, amplified by the strength of her body language, resonated with the growing crowd of onlookers. Mike took another breath, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Could it be that they were more than just victims of relentless cruelty? "You think we don't belong, but what kind of people hide behind insults? It's the scared ones. The ones who don't know the strength within themselves." The ringleader's posture stiffened, a glare darkening his features. Mike's own self-doubt threatened to surge back, but he fought against it, reminding himself of Lily's resolve, her fight. It fueled his courage, urging him onward as he continued, "This is our journey to find ourselves, and you trying to drag us down one stop that. So, if you want to be a bully, fine. But know this, you are not going to deprive us of our voices." Gasps erupted around them, and Mike could feel the collective anticipation thrumming in the cafeteria, tension hanging like a taut string. It felt liberating, more like a performance than a confrontation, the crowd drawn into their unique narrative. The ringleader shifted, his bravado cracking under the weight of their declaration. Some of the students began to rally again, openly questioning the ringleader and his cohorts. A hushed conversation ignited across the tables, fueled by a recognition of the injustice before them. A small ripple of warmth bloomed in Mike's chest. Maybe they could reshape their narrative after all. But just as hope began to flourish, the ringleader lunged, fingers curling into a fist. "You think this is over?" He spat back, his voice filled with venom. "You're nothing, both of you." Mike's heart sank, anger coursed through him, a strong urge to retreat approaching. But he held his ground. What could he do to defy this outcome? A part of him longed to flee, to hide behind the familiar cloak of silence that had always offered him temporary refuge. Then he noticed Lily's face. Her determination shone brightly, driving him to stay present, to become the ally she needed. Much to his own surprise, he felt a flicker of possibility blooming. This was perhaps their moment. The oppressive fear began to lift, replaced by an inkling of something transformative. "We are tough enough to fight back," he murmured to himself, barely audible yet potent. The ringleader stepped forward, rage etched across his features. But instead of cowering, Mike squared his shoulders, steeling himself for whatever may come next. The confrontation was now inevitable, but it also felt like an awakening. Would it finally beckon a change, not only for them but for the rest of the students witnessing this moment? What truth had they unearthed that would ripple through their lives beyond this encounter? In tight silence, the cafeteria awaited Mike's decision. Would he step into this uncertain arena one last time, ready to confront the weight of the past and reshape who they were meant to become? Mike's heart raced as the ringleader advanced, fury narrowing his focus. Everything he had kept locked away surged to the surface, and the humiliation of countless moments flooded his mind. He shook his head, steeling his resolve. This wasn't just about his past, it was about the future he wanted, one where he could walk alongside Lily without the heavy chains of fear spooling in the air around them. "Are you really gonna go through with this?" Mike asked, meeting the ringleader's glare with fierce determination. His voice escaped as a challenge, buoyed by the reactions erupting around him. The watchers leaned in, their attention now an electrifying tool in his hands. Bullying is a choice, and we choose to stand up against it. In that moment, the ringleader's face twisted with confusion, a flicker of doubt clouding his swagger. The crowd shifted in response, some murmuring agreement, and Mike felt the fear begin to crumble under the weight of their shared experience. He was aware of all the eyes upon him, eyes that had witnessed years of scorn, yet now gleamed with something new: curiosity, perhaps even admiration. Lily poised her hands, her signs weaving a tapestry of mutual strength that echoed Mike's words, "We rise together. Your hate won't define us." The ringleader faltered, swallowing hard as the uncertainty began to paint over the bravado he had constructed. As Lily conveyed her message with sheer conviction, Mike's chest swelled with pride. But as light seemingly entered the room, darkness still lurked. The ringleader surged toward them, the threat electric. Mike sensed the heartbeat of the audience, their breaths held, their fight or flight instincts teetering on the edge. He knew this could lead to a pivotal moment, a chance to redefine not only his existence but also how others perceived vulnerability. "Step back!" shouted one of the ringleader's friends. The crowd erupted into interference, a cacophony of voices igniting the air with chaos. Their protective instincts turned the potential confrontation into a fluid contest of wills, uncertainty now hanging in the balance. With heightened adrenaline, Mike spoke louder, more passionately. "We all hurt. We all fight. What if we redirected that pain?" His words felt like a lifeline thrown into treacherous waters. "Instead of tearing each other down, let us build." Long-neglected hope struck chords within the onlookers, and Mike recognized the shift. They were hungry for something different. The ringleader, taken aback by the fervor of the collective mood, hesitated. "What's this bullshit?" He spat, but he sounded less certain. What had once sounded like the war cry of a bully was now the quiver of a disturbed spirit. Mike seized the moment, his voice steady yet powerful. "You're scared, just like we are. Maybe you don't know how to channel that fear into something worthwhile. But it's not too late." The thrill of no longer being in the shadows enveloped him. He saw the faces of the students around him morph, those who had felt like him, who understood the depth of loneliness and the longing for connection. And in that moment, clarity sparked within Mike. He absorbed the realization that he wasn't just fighting for himself or even for Lily. He was challenging an entire way of being that had suffocated so many for far too long. As he continued to speak, something extraordinary happened. The ringleader's bravado began to deflate, replaced by a dawning awareness of his own apathy, exposed under the light of honesty. But just then, the cafeteria doors burst open, and into the chaos, someone entered. Mike's heart dropped as he recognized who it was. What now? He thought, the air heavy with uncertainty once more. Would this unexpected guest throw a newfound wrench into their battle, or could it be just what Mike needed to forge a resolution? As the figure stepped through the cafeteria doors, a hush fell upon the room, a moment suspended in time. Mike's stomach churned, recognition piercing through his determination. It was his older brother, Jake, a presence both familiar and daunting. Years of absence had not dulled the tension between them. Mike had spent so much of his life grappling with the shadow of his brother's choices. Jake's eyes scanned the scene, landing squarely on Mike. The defiance that had propelled Mike to this moment faltered for an instant, yet the determination rapidly returned. This wasn't the time for past grievances. He had carved out a space of strength in front of classmates who had craved a rallying cry against bullying. "Mike," Jake called out, his voice unexpectedly soft but heavy with implications. It was an invitation to retreat from the confrontation that was spiraling. For a fleeting moment, Mike considered it. But the sight of the ringleader, uncertain yet eager to regain control, sharpened his focus. "What? You couldn't stay away forever?" Mike shot back, his words laced with bravado that masked the emotional turmoil swirling inside him. The past had forged a wall between them, one that seemed both painful and necessary. The crowd shifted, the energy shifting again, a mix of fear, concern, and curiosity. Did they sense a family drama unfolding? Yet Mike realized, as he stood in the epicenter of their gaze, that familial ties were not enough to dictate this moment's outcome. "You need to shut this down," Jake said, stepping closer, attempting to defuse the escalating situation. "Walk away. It's not worth it." "No," Mike responded fiercely, his conviction rising again, deeply rooted in the clarity he had just unearthed. "Walking away hasn't done anything but let bullies thrive. I'm not scared of you, or him, or anyone anymore." The room hummed with a mix of tension and anticipation. Jake's expression hardened, frustration mingling with concern. Would his brother's presence deter or galvanize the growing movement around Mike? The questions tormented him. Was Jake here to pull him back into the past or push him away from the future he had begun to dream of? Lily watched the exchange, her eyes wide with understanding, interpreting the emotional intensity radiating from Mike. She stepped forward, signing with purpose, "You can conquer your fears. Together. Let us make this moment ours." Her determination reframed Mike's resolve, pushing him farther from the edge of retreat. Lost in myriad thoughts, Mike's voice broke through the silence that teetered on the brink. "I'm not going back to being silent. I'll confront whoever it takes to make this the last moment someone walks out of this room feeling smaller." He glanced again at Jake, his brother's surprise momentarily revealing fleeting glimpses of admiration. Perhaps there was an opening for connection, one that had been long buried under the weight of expectations and past decisions. "Listen," Mike continued, pouring emotion into the moment. "If we want the future to be different, we have to confront our fears, even those that feel like family. This to stand up is how we change." The ringleader's expression flashed between anger and bewilderment, and for the first time, Mike saw a crack in the facade, a sign of vulnerability that mirrored his. Could they really shift the paradigm in this moment? But just as the challenge ignited an unthinkable opportunity, a loud crash echoed from the back of the room, drawing every gaze away from the confrontation. Mike's heart raced anew as he turned, instinctively bracing himself for what could break this fragile moment. What had happened now? Would it be a distraction that splintered their strength, or an unexpected ally to bolster their cause? The uncertainty set the stage for a climax he hadn't anticipated. Mike's heart thundered against his ribs as he turned toward the source of the disturbance. The cafeteria doors rattled, an ominous reminder that not all interruptions heralded aid. His eyes searched the crowd, falling on a group of startled students, a cacophony of whispers swelling around them. What had caused the crash? More importantly, could it derail the fragile momentum he had worked so hard to build? Before he could analyze the situation, his instincts kicked in. He moved closer to the scene, purpose guiding each step. The remnants of a fallen food cart lay sprawled on the floor, trays clattering against the tiles. A few students scurried to restore order, while glances shot in Mike's direction as if anticipating his next move. Would he retreat now, hiding behind the chaos? "Everyone, just breathe," Mike called out, trying to project authority amid the rising panic. It was strange to take on this role, standing there as the voice of calm when memories of his younger self, one who felt swallowed by fear, flared up in the shadows of his mind. But here, now, he felt the weight of responsibility not just for himself but for everyone around him. Jake had followed Mike's lead, positioning himself at the edge of the crowd, confusion and concern etched across his face. Their history hung heavily in the air, clouding any potential solidarity. Yet Mike felt a flicker of something new, possibility. "Lily!" he shouted, scanning the crowd for her familiar figure. She emerged from behind a cluster of students, urgency radiating from her. Their eyes locked for a fleeting heartbeat, and in that exchange, something shifted. Mike sensed she understood the gravity of the moment even more than he did. "Let us make this count," she signed fervently, and emboldened by her support, Mike turned back to the audience, which was now entranced by the unexpected spectacle. "Listen," he implored, raising his voice above the background noise. "I need everyone's attention. We're all in this together." A few heads turned, curiosity piquing interest, while some of the crowd began to straddle the energy of confrontation and cooperation. "Over the last few weeks, we've witnessed fear overpower kindness," he continued, digging deep into the resolve building inside him. "But if we want this space to be ours, a place where we can thrive, we have to confront what we fear. We need to face it right now, together." Jake's expression shifted as realization dawned upon him. Was this his brother, confronting not just the immediate issue but also the deeper struggles that had separated them all these years? In that moment, Mike could see palpable change beginning to resonate in the room. The atmosphere thickened as students began to nod, murmurs of agreement rippling through the cafeteria. Tension was giving way to a new kind of strength. Yet, amid this newfound energy, Mike's anxiety lingered. Would Jake, standing off to the side, inhibit this shift? Would his brother's presence serve as a reminder of the past instead of a bridge to the future? Jake's brow furrowed, and he took a step forward, seemingly torn between conflicting loyalties. "Mike," he finally interjected, breaking the collective hold on the moment. "What if this thing spirals out of control?" "What if no?" Mike cut him off, not with anger, but with the kind of certainty he'd rarely felt before. "What if we embrace it? What if we learn?" Each word felt like a stone breaking the surface of a stagnant pond, sending ripples of transformation throughout the crowd. Families were one thing, but the kind of family he envisioned would arise from challenging interactions, not running from them. As Mike processed each layer of connection and confrontation, a part of him hoped for this day to become foundational, a day destined for memory. A moment crystallized. But as he ventured deeper into uncharted territory with his brother watching, anxiety gnawed at his resolve. Could he keep this momentum alive while facing the specter of his past? The lingering sound of the fallen cart had sent tremors through the fabric of their gathering. But now it served as a reminder of the fragility of change. Would they harness the power of a moment, or fall back into the familiar patterns of their past? As he glanced toward Jake, searching for cues of understanding and shared purpose, a loud clap of applause erupted from a small faction in the crowd. It was spontaneous, unexpected, and ignited a spark among other hesitant students. "Let us embrace this," someone shouted, and Mike's heart soared. The tide was turning, but as hope mingled with dread, a question pulsed beneath the surface. Could he really hold his ground as transformation loomed nearby, waiting to unveil the truth in the heart of everyone present? As the applause spread through the cafeteria, Mike felt an unexpected surge of adrenaline coursing through him. This was his moment, the moment he'd envisioned but never quite believed possible. The energy around him shifted from uncertainty to curiosity, and with it came a tentative spark of determination. Would he allow this spark to ignite a lasting flame, or would old fears stifle it? "Thank you. Thank you," he urged, his voice lifting above the clapping, feeding off their enthusiasm. "Today isn't just about what has happened, but about what we can create moving forward." As he spoke, Mike's thoughts darted to Jake. His brother's stance still carried ambivalence, a duality that tugged at Mike's heart. Jake had always been his protector, a role they both contested in the wreckage of their childhood. But now, with everything at stake, he sensed a choice: to rebuild their bond or let it remain fractured. "Listen, I'm not asking for perfection," Mike continued, shifting the weight of his gaze to include everyone. "None of us have to be perfect. Just honest about what we feel. Honest about who we are." With each word, he fortified his resolve, wrestling against the anxiety brewing in his gut. Could he inspire this chaotic tapestry of emotions into productive dialogue? He could almost feel the walls everyone had erected around themselves begin to crack, a delicate balance forming amid the pockets of students who had once taken refuge in silence. Together we can create a safe space, Mike pressed on, gesturing broadly. We can change our narrative. What if this chaos becomes the very catalyst for honest conversations? A chorus of whispers grew louder, hesitant at first but swelling into something profound as expressions started to shift around him. Calm faces now mirrored echoes of hope. He was no longer just Mike, he was a conduit for their collective energy, and with each heartbeat of the cafeteria, he felt an uncharted strength rising within him. But just as the thrill of unity seemed to take hold, a familiar voice cut through the chatter, taking a sharp turn towards the dark. Or what if we just make things worse? Jake's question hung in the air like a blade, a striking contrast to the enthusiasm buzzing around them. Eyes turned to Mike, but now infused with an urgent tension. Mike's heart sank, and he could almost see Jake's doubt reflected in the worried expressions surrounding them. Why do you always do that? Mike challenged, his voice laced with frustration. Why are you always waiting for things to blow up? The cafeteria quieted, the collective intake of breath a testament to the rawness of their interaction. There it was, the confrontation he had dreaded but knew must unfold. Faced with raw vulnerability, he had to continue even as the possibility of conflict loomed large. I'm not waiting for it to blow up, Jake countered, his tone softening but earnest. I just don't want you to get hurt, Mike. I don't want any of us to be hurt. In that moment, Mike realized that Jake's resistance stemmed not from malice but from a place of concern, a part of him still clinging to the boy who lived in fear. Their shared past loomed like a shadow, ready to engulf this moment of potential transformation. Feeling the weight of the moment pressing in on him, Mike inhaled deeply, tapping into the pool of strength that had begun to swell within. Then we learn from it, Jake. If we fail, we learn. If we succeed, we grow. But we need to try. The words landed heavily, and Mike took a step forward, daring to bridge the divide. In the silence that followed, his heart raced, knowing he had taken a risk. Now, every eye was on him, anticipating the next move in this precarious game of emotional chess. What awaited them could either shatter the fragile quiet or build a foundation for understanding. Would they embrace the chance for confrontation, or would they retreat back into comfort and fear? As the silence held, the pressure building in the air felt almost electric. Jake's brows knitted together, his internal battle visible, while the crowd remained transfixed, caught in the electric tension of waiting. A sudden commotion from across the cafeteria shattered the anticipation. Mike's gaze darted toward the noise, an unknown urgency blooming in him. What new troubles awaited as they stood on the brink of transformation? Would they plunge headfirst into chaos or wield the potential of connection when faced with uncertainty? As the commotion erupted across the cafeteria, everyone turned toward the source of the disruption. In the chaos, Mike felt a familiar pulse of fear, but it was accompanied by something else, an unwavering determination to not only stand alongside Lily but to advocate for their shared future. Everyone, just focus. Mike shouted, his voice cutting through the din. We've worked too hard to let this moment slip away. He exchanged a glance with Lily, who nodded emphatically, eyes gleaming with fierce resolve. She had already proven to the world that she could rise above the doubt and ridicule. Now, it was Mike's turn to echo that strength. Pushing through the crowd, Mike took a step forward, his heart pounding. The initial rush of anxiety transformed into vibrant energy, propelling him onward. We can change this narrative, together. This isn't just about stopping the bullies, this is about embracing who we are and transforming our fears into a platform for connection. The murmurs began to settle into silence, curiosity rippling like waves of understanding across the students' faces. In these fleeting moments, Mike recognized the pivotal change blossoming within himself and among the crowd. He was no longer merely a father striving to protect his daughter, he was a leader determined to carve out a safe and engaging space for all. As the atmosphere shifted, the ringleader's bravado appeared to dwindle. The feeling in the room encapsulated unease, yet Mike had gained a clarity he was determined to embrace. This is our opportunity. We have the chance to unite, to share stories, and to learn from our differences. His hands moved with urgency, drawing the audience closer with each word. Lily stepped beside him, her fingers dancing vividly in the air, translating his words into a powerful visualization for everyone to see. This was their moment, a partnership fortified in public, a declaration against the fear that had enveloped their existence for too long. Together, we can educate ourselves, Mike continued, feeling the electric anticipation in the room. This opportunity isn't simply about defending ourselves, it's about teaching others to embrace compassion. We all struggle, we all fight, the question is how we choose to express those battles. Sensing the shift tangibly, faces in the crowd softened in understanding. It was no longer a contest, but rather a call to support one another, embracing their unique struggles. The ringleader, who still stood in defiance at the edge, looked caught off guard, staring into the quiet strength unfolding before him. In that moment, for Mike, life as a single parent transformed into something beyond mere survival. This was empowerment, the fusion of vulnerability and resilience. Life doesn't stop for our differences. We can either isolate ourselves or nurture a culture of understanding. He glanced at his brother, Jake, whose expression now reflected a glimmer of support, the barriers of their past slowly breaking under the weight of newfound understanding. As the audience absorbed these sentiments, Mike noticed something incredible: his own insecurities diminished. Each heartbeat transformed into confidence, the lingering pain of his past releasing its grip. He had stepped into his own narrative, embracing the complexities of his emotions, relinquishing the burden of shame he had carried for so long. Scanning the faces of the students sprawled before him, he witnessed a wave of realization wash over them. Lily's own face brightened as if reflecting the momentum surrounding them, no longer the isolated girl under a tree, but a proud and empowered young woman ready to inspire. Today, we aren't just standing against bullying, we're creating a movement. Mike declared, his voice echoing, piercing through the remnants of fear and doubt. Let us do this together. Let us learn, grow, and celebrate each other's uniqueness. The cafeteria erupted in applause, the cacophony swelling louder, morphing into a roar of support. In that landscape painted by acceptance and understanding, clarity fell upon Mike. He had moved beyond just confronting his fears. He was actively transforming them into something profound, embarking on a journey that would rekindle the relationships he once thought lost. Thank you for believing. Mike shouted, sweeping his gaze over his peers as they rallied together, a newfound family forging bonds through empathy. They were no longer just a group fragmented by insecurities, they were a community reconstructing their identity with compassion. Through collaborative efforts, awareness workshops began to take shape, fostering conversations about neurodiversity and communication barriers. Schools buzzed with the excitement of change, and despite lurking shadows from the past, Mike knew he was focused on building a new legacy with Lily. As days turned to weeks, Mike stepped into newfound opportunities. He facilitated community workshops and engaged in public speaking, furthering the mission he and Lily ignited. The ripple effect of their journey echoed, inspiring others to embrace their stories with courage. In his heart, he felt an exhilarating pride, a realization that healing extended beyond isolation. By confronting shared vulnerabilities openly, he was weaving a fabric of connection that would last far beyond their time in that cafeteria. Both Mike and Lily didn't just adapt to their fears, they conquered them. Mike stood confidently beside his daughter, no longer a man burdened by grief but a force against ignorance and misunderstanding. Through their journey, they had not only found strength in one another but crafted a legacy of courage and understanding that would resonate through their lives and the lives of many others. As they forged ahead in a world ready for insights unknown, Mike knew this was a new beginning, not just for him and Lily, but a promise of hope for countless others seeking to reclaim their stories. And so, they stepped forth, hand in hand, a testament to resilience, a declaration of change, a family united in their triumph over adversity. Now, don't wait even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it truly makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about this transformative journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Show them that empowerment and resilience are within reach.